Are we good then? There we go.
Yes, you should be good. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Okay, well, welcome everyone to this Committee of Adjustment meeting of November 4th, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. We have an agenda before us. The recommendation is that the agenda for the November 4th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment meeting be confirmed as circulated. Can I get a mover of the agenda?
So moved.
Ms. Hajnik, seconded by Mr. Lindsay. Any issues with the agenda? Any additions? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Just going to scroll across. Seeing none. Adoption of the Committee of Adjustment minutes, confirmation of the minutes of the October 7th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment meeting be adopted as circulated is our recommendation. Can I get a mover to that effect? Councillor Willis, seconded by Mr. James. Any errors, edits, or omissions in those? None noted. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And we now come to public meeting 5.1, 213 Creighton Drive, Ken Crook, minor variance. Now I will turn it over to staff.
To the chair, the proposed application for 213 Creighton Drive in Odessa proposes to increase the maximum lot coverage from 43% to 45%, as well as to reduce the setback from the environmental protection EP zone from 15 meter to 3.6 meter, and to reduce the rear yard setback for a deck from 6 meter to 3.6 meter to permit a deck within the rear yard of the subject property. Staff are recommending approval of the application as it meets 4 tests of minor variance. First, the general intent and purpose of the official plan is met as a deck is permitted use and is keeping with the intent of low-density residential designation. Second, the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained as the amenity space on property is maintained while also maintaining the privacy of neighboring properties, and reduce the rear yard setback does not negatively impact the environmental protection EP zone adjacent to the property. Third, the requested variances are considered as an appropriate use of land as they do not affect the general character of surrounding area and subject property. Fourth, the variances can be considered minor as they do not negatively impact the amenity space available on the property and the neighboring property, as well as does not negatively affect the adjacent environmentally protected area. Therefore, staff are recommending approval for minor variance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to the committee if there are any questions for staff at this particular time. Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've reviewed this application and I'm not going to dispute staff's conclusions with respect to the 4 tests because I do believe that ultimately the application does satisfy those requirements, but I have a couple questions as to how this application is before us. And what I'm alluding to here is that I believe in the staff report, it refers to section 411B of the zoning bylaw, which requires all buildings and structures to be 15 meters setback from land zone environmental protection, was overlooked and no relief in this section was given as part of a previous zoning bylaw amendment associated with this subdivision. So I guess my first question is that, is this application premature in a sense that the municipality needs to go back and look at the requirements of the existing zoning bylaw and possibly amend it for the entire subdivision? Because I guess my concern is that we will be receiving a number of applications in this regard for every lot that's along there, for anybody who wants to put in a deck. I guess, given that, I'd like to hear, or at least a confirmation from staff that that if we do approve this application tonight, that it's not jeopardizing their position going forward in making the amendment to the zoning bylaw.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. Lindsay. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah.
Griffin. Yeah, if you'd like to
Th-
respond.
yeah, thank you. Through the chair to committee member Lindsay. Yeah, so I can confirm that the lands were overlooked as part of the subdivision. And staff are currently, just give me 1 second. Do you mind muting? Sorry about that. We were having minor technical feedback. So staff are currently undertaking a review and updating our current zoning bylaw. So rather than going and taking staff time at this time to do a housekeeping bylaw, we're bringing all our housekeeping bylaws, which would clean up things like this with like this miss, as part of the overall zoning bylaw review and update, which is coming in 2025. So in short, I do not believe it'll jeopardize us undertaking that as part of the zoning review. And I can confirm, as these are new builds, we are getting inquiries about decks, and they're all facing similar issues, and not because of the EP, but rather because of the setback of the houses from the rear lot lines. Would need a variance anyway. So as if a variance is required, we are including those as part of the variance application, just to clean it up one by one, if that does become prior to the zoning update. But at this time, we are saving the entire subdivision to do a housekeeping amendment through the zoning update.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Do you have a follow-up, Mr. Lindsay?
Just quickly, so James, just to make sure then that the housekeeping amendment will be incorporating this and making the changes across the board because what I'm concerned is that individuals, if they want to go ahead and put a deck into their backyard, are going to have to come to this committee and incur the expense of coming to this committee. If this issue gets resolved through the comprehensive zoning review that you're doing, the cleanup, then it saves those people the money for making an application. So perhaps, I guess, if individuals could be advised of that when they come to the counter saying, look, I want to put in a deck, you could say, well, if you hang on for X amount of months, or maybe you may not have to incur this expense. Now, having said that, I know that time is money and trying to get materials and all that sort of thing. So I just wanted to put it to the committee's attention that hopefully people will be informed of this when they come to the counter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lindsay.
And through the chair to committee member Lindsay, I can confirm if that were the case, we would definitely give folks the option and say, hey, listen, don't spend your time and money. We're updating this. But I'd also note that in reviewing a few decks here and knowing how the houses were laid out, it wouldn't be the variance that would be required for the 15-meter setback. Rather, it would be the variance that's required for the encroachment into the rear yard. That would likely be triggering it anyway. So typically, we're not adding this on unless there's a variance anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Any other comments or questions for staff from the committee this time? Okay, seeing none at this time, the committee shall hear comments from the applicant or their solicitor or agent and any person who claims to be affected by this application. So is there anyone, is the applicant in here and wishes to speak, or any of their representative? I'll look to the clerk for the answer to that question.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, I'm just bringing over Ken right now as the
Perfect.
panelist. Thank you.
Ken, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, please,
Okay.
please proceed. Yep, go ahead.
Please proceed. Firstly, thanks for taking the time this evening to review my family's variance application. At this time, I don't really have any further to add other than what was in my my application. We recently just moved in June, and I would very much like the opportunity to have a deck so we can use our backyard and our home. That's really all I have at the moment, unless there's any questions of me.
Thank you, sir. I will turn to the committee to see if there are any questions for Mr. Crook. Mr. Lindsay, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. To the applicant, I was just wondering about the shape of the deck, in the sense that it seems to be like a perfect square and hence requires a larger variance into the rear yard. Did you ever consider perhaps a rectangular shaped deck with the same area but less intrusion into the rear yard? Or is there a reason why that could not be considered?
The reason we went with basically a square deck was because we want to have like a table we can have to sit around and eat at, and still have space to move around.
Okay, so I guess it's to be able to increase the functionality of the deck.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
you can use it the way you want. Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Other committee members, any questions for the applicant? Just go through. Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Crook. I will turn now back to the clerk if there is anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak. If they would raise their hand, if they're in.
At this time, Deputy Mayor, there is no one in the virtual audience that wishes to speak. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then I'll turn back to the committee. We do have a report with the recommendation. And I will ask for there to be a mover to read that recommendation for us.
So moved.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Willis. I will just give me a moment. So the recommendation is, to be clear, that the report from the Development Services Division dated November 4th, 2024, re 213 Creighton Drive, Ken Crook minor variance be received, and that the minor variance application D13-011-2024 affecting property described as Lot 15, Plan 29M64, former Township of Ernestown, Loyalist Township, in the county of Lennox and Addington, and more particularly located at 213 Creighton Drive in Odessa, to increase the maximum lot coverage from 43% to 45%, as well as to reduce the setback from the environmental protection zone from 15 meters to 3.6 meters, and to reduce the rear yard setback for a deck from 6 meters to 3.6 meters, and to permit a deck within the rear yard of the subject property, subject to the 4 conditions listed in the report. So that's moved by Committee Member Lindsay and seconded by Councillor Willis. Are there any comments on the motion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Excellent. Okay, no decisions, no other business. Before we adjourn, I must apologize. The clerk was good enough earlier in the week to send me a blurb. At these meetings, it's quite important for the sake of the public record that it's noted that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, that all information attained here in this meeting is considered part of the public record. And this meeting, of course, is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the township website. I meant to mention that at the beginning of the meeting. My apologies. Our upcoming meeting dates, our next meeting for the committee is December 2nd, 2024. And with that, I'll get a motion to adjourn, if I may. Councillor Willis, seconded by Mr. Lindsay. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We are adjourned at 6:18. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah, have a good night, everyone.